Time now for a look at the latest business news. And while stock markets recovering today after massive falls in the past week over fears from that new coronavirus. To bring us the latest details, we're joined on set by business editor Stephen Carroll. Stephen.
Eve, this surge really gathered pace on Wall Street and trading on Wednesday, but it's continuing into stock market trading today. The US markets welcoming Joe Biden's performance in the Super Tuesday primary votes, but also the steps being taken by policymakers to combat the slump from the coronavirus. Let's take a look at how the markets are starting the day here in Europe. Shares opening up, not the same magnitude of gains that we saw elsewhere. In fact, they have slipped back since the opening bell as well. We're seeing shares now in the green, but not by very much. Shares in the German tyre maker Continental down 6% after the company warned the coronavirus will impact the car industry this year, after they also had a weaker 2019. So that's one of the companies not performing so well in the markets today. In Asia earlier, much stronger gains across the markets. Chinese shares getting a boost from an announcement from the Chinese government of more help for the economy there, trying to limit the impact of coronavirus on business. But it was on Wall Street that we saw huge gains on Wednesday of around 4%. But it's worth pointing out that while the gains that we saw on the likes of the S&P 500, which is the broadest stock market index, while they were significant for the day, the share indexes are still largely below where they were before the impact of coronavirus was felt on the markets. The S&P 500 still about 10% lower than it was just a couple of weeks ago. It's at the lowest level still now where it was 4 months ago. So still plenty of recovery to happen there to regain some of the losses we've seen in recent weeks. One of the main factors behind Wednesday's market rally was the US House of Representatives approving more than $8 billion worth of funding in response to the virus outbreak. That's more than 3 times the amount requested by the White House. The biggest portion will go to public health efforts, which will include the development of vaccines and purchase of necessary supplies. Over $2 billion will go to the Centre for Disease Control and Prevention, while over $800 million will go to the National Institute of Infectious Diseases for research into the virus. And there's $250 million as well in economic support with a special allocation for small businesses. Now, airlines have been one of the sectors hardest hit by the coronavirus impact. That's as passengers cancel their travel plans. The British airline Flybe has collapsed in the past few hours with all flights grounded. Its boss Mark Henderson telling staff in an email that a lack of bookings due to coronavirus had pushed it into bankruptcy. Flybe carried around 8 million passengers a year, mainly from smaller UK airports on domestic and European routes. It had come close to collapse last year before being bailed out by the British government. The news coming as a particular blow to Northern Ireland as Flybe operates 80% of flights from Belfast City Airport. Now, while many companies are suffering, some have actually seen an upturn in their business since the outbreak of the virus. Among them, delivery services in South Korea, with many people there avoiding contact with others and staying away from public places. These firms are seeing a big increase in orders. Yuka Royer has the story.
There is so much to deliver. At Coupang, one of South Korea's biggest e-commerce companies, staff are struggling to cope with skyrocketing demand.
We used to go out with the truck half full, but these days there are so many items that we can't fit everything inside.
With the number of COVID-19 cases approaching 6,000, more and more South Koreans are staying home, ordering everything from water to food to household essentials online. This company says it's seen deliveries climb to 3 million a day since mid-February, almost 1.5 times more than late last year. Hygiene is the top priority. At this distribution centre, a thermal camera has been set up at the entrance monitoring every employee who comes in. Lorries are regularly disinfected. Wearing masks and gloves, the drivers don't get to see their customers.
We deliver packages to the front door to avoid contact with our customers. We just take a picture of the delivered package and let the customers know it was delivered.
E-commerce was already big in South Korea before the coronavirus outbreak. According to research by Euromonitor, online shopping accounted for 1/4 of the overall retail market in the country last year, the highest proportion in the world, a figure that will likely increase in the current climate.
Finally for me, a former star Google engineer who worked on self-driving cars has been ordered to pay the company almost $180 million over a contract dispute. Anthony Lewandowski left Google in 2016 to create his own startup, which was later bought by Uber. Google successfully sued him and another colleague for poaching Google employees to join their new venture. The company was awarded $179 million in damages, which Mr. Lewandowski says he can't pay, and has now filed for bankruptcy protection. The ruling is the latest twist in a dispute between Silicon Valley's tech titans. Uber and Google's self-driving car unit settled their differences for hundreds of millions of dollars. Lewandowski is facing criminal charges over this as well for theft of trade secrets. You can just tell the money involved in these companies and their technology is just huge.
Indeed, the figures, it's hard to imagine as you call them out. Stephen Carroll with our business update. Thanks a lot for that.